To add a modular bed into your design, you must first explore which modular beds are ready made for us to use and which ones can be modified. To do that, we go to the admin portal and in the catalog section under furniture and in multi-purpose modular furniture, we then go to the bed subcategory where we will open all the modular beds that are in our catalog. Here you can already see beds such as bed 1 and bed 2 which have an already ready-made construction. And if you select add from warehouse and navigate to the same subcategory and group, you'll see more beds herein which are ready-made for you to use and whose construction cannot be easily changed. If one of these match the construction you want to use, you can go ahead and use that. However, if you want to create modifications of your own to the design, then it would be better to go with bed carcass. Bed carcass has a skew or a modular bed to which you can make necessary construction changes and modifications. With that in mind, ensure that you add it from the warehouse if not already added. And when you go to your design and open furnish, select all and scroll down to multipurpose modular furniture. Ensure that to create or add a modifiable bed, you add bed carcass. Now you can see that a modifiable bed carcass has been added, and to this you can make numerous changes such as its partitions and internals. For instance, we can make changes such as deleting these shutters simply by removing the shutter system in the same way that we would for cabinets. And then we can make changes of our own, let's say to a certain partition. In this manner, we can create some changes and create shutter systems in this way. Apart from that, we can also make other types of changes such as adding a headboard panel as well as support panels at the bottom. Let's say we want to add a headboard. To that, we can go into the cabinet level, open the construction tab and select add custom panel. Since it is a vertical one, we can select vertical custom panel and select base unit. However, now that this headboard panel is there, we need to ensure that the position and the dimensions of this panel is depending on the changes we make to the dimensions and position of the bed. To do this, first let us understand the concept of user component. When you select this particular bed, you can see that by default we are in the user component section. This is the highest level of editing something like a multipurpose modular furniture, and it is higher than even cabinet. It is here that we set certain parameters by which all the components of the modular bed will follow. For instance, when you click on user component, under the parameters section, you will see set parameters such as the width of this bed, the depth of this bed height, and the thickness of the core panels. And thus, when we select the cabinet, you can see that the width, depth, and height are set according to those parameters, and therefore it will change accordingly. While the cabinet carcass is one component of this overall bed, now that we have added this headboard panel as another component, we need to set up parameters for this as well according to what we've set up for the user component. To do that, when you go to panel and go to dimensions, you can see that against W and D, which is the width and depth, there is an I symbol, which implies that you can set the parameters here. Supposing I want the width of this particular headboard to adjust itself according to the width of this cabinet or this carcass, I simply delete the current value and according to the user component parameter that I see, in which case it is cabinet width, I simply type in the same here. I select the correct value from here and press enter, and now you can see it has adjusted itself. However, in this case, I will have to type in the cabinet depth instead because this is the actual dimension that needs to be followed. In this case, D stands for the height of this board. Let's say I want a constant height for this, in which case I can even keep it at a constant value. However, if I only want the extra height of this to be constant, then I need to specify its value to be the height of this carcass plus the extra constant height. In which case I will type in cabinet height plus the extra height that I want, in which case I'll type in 300, which now means that no matter what height I give to this overall carcass, that is, if I go to user component and I change the parameters value to, let's say, 2000, we can see that the headboard is stretching itself. And also, when I change the height, the headboard's height will be the total height of this carcass plus 300, which is the extra height I give, no matter what height I give it. On the other hand, if I had given its dimension to be constant, and now if I change the particular carcass height, you can see that the headboard is not adjusting itself with it. Thus, it is important to keep parameters wherever possible or according to how you want it to be adjusted. Similarly, we can do the same with the bottom rails of the bed by adding another carcass panel. Let's say at the bottom of this bed we already have a rail on either side, but supposing I want to add another rail on either side, then once again I can go to the cabinet level or the carcass level and add another custom panel which is vertical. Now this panel too needs to be adjusted by setting up its dimension parameters as well as its position parameters. Because in this case, the position of this panel is going to depend on the width and the depth of this bed. To adjust the dimensions of this panel, we can simply take a look at the other two panels and check its dimensions herein. We can simply copy this particular value and enter the same for our new panel as well. We can also see here that the depth is 72, which we shall apply for this panel as well. Now you can see the position has been set at exactly 0 relative to the bed's origin. If I open position slash rotation, you can see that all the values here are 0. But these are also values that depend on parameters as indicated by the I symbol. So you can set them accordingly. In the case of this particular panel, you can see that it is shifted forward by half of the cabinet width, and its height is the value of the core's thickness. Supposing I want the new panel to be 3/4 of the distance of the cabinet width, which means halfway across this partition, then I can simply click on this panel and put in that particular value, in which case it would be 3 by 4th of the cabinet width, and press enter. And now you can see that it has been shifted forward by exactly that much. And in the y-axis, I type in the core thickness parameter so that it gets shifted towards the right and it is not intersecting with the side panel here. And in this manner, we can use parameters to set up other sort of custom panels that will form a component of the overall modular bed.